Valencia is a vampire warrior who has sworn to uphold the ancient truce between vampires and werewolves. But when she meets Caleb, the rogue alpha werewolf, she feels an instant and undeniable connection that goes against everything she stands for. Valencia pulled her cloak tighter as she strode through the moonlit forest, the chill of the night barely phasing her vampire skin. This secret meeting with the werewolves better be worth it, she thought. If her clan found out, she'd be staked for sure. She reached the misty clearing, ruins of an old castle looming ahead. Torches blazed around the crumbling walls where 2 packs of werewolves already gathered. Valencia slipped into the shadows, not yet announcing her presence. She spotted Victor, the werewolf ambassador, his scarred snout distinct even from a distance. Next to him stood a powerful wolf warrior she didn't recognize, likely the alpha of one of the packs. His muscular frame was silhouetted in firelight, but Valencia caught a glint of blue in his intense gaze. "Let us begin." Vitor's gruff voice cut through the crisp night air. "We face troubling times. Rogue vampires raid our villages, and we lose more of our youth each moon. You wolves have lost kin to ruthless vampire hordes as well. We must unite against these common foes, or both our species will suffer." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Valencia saw the truth in Victor's words. She had lost many she cared for to werewolf attacks as well. Perhaps it was time for their eternal war to end. She stepped from the shadows, pulling back her hood to reveal the pale beauty and flickering irises that betrayed her vampire nature. Victor met her gaze and nodded. "My friends," he continued, "I present Valencia Volpe, an elder of the Crimson Coven. She has risked much to be here tonight. Valencia seeks the same peace we do." The werewolves shifted uneasily, some glaring at her presence, but none made a move to attack. The mysterious alpha continued studying her curiously. Valencia lifted her chin, refusing to be intimidated.
"The loss of life benefits neither of us."
"I wish to negotiate a truce if you wolves are willing."
The alpha spoke, his voice deep and controlled. "Some of us want peace, vampire. Others still bear grudges from centuries of blood spilled." He approached Valencia, power rippling beneath his skin. Up close, she saw the vivid blue of his eyes, the handsome edge to his strong jaw. "Decide where you stand wisely," he warned. She noticed scars etching one side of his face. This wolf had seen battle and emerged victorious, if the reverent way the others watched him was any clue. She kept her expression neutral.
"And where do you stand?"
A glint entered the alpha's intense eyes. "I am called Caleb Blackmoon. I stand for peace between our people." He held her gaze, and Valencia felt her still heart flutter. "No," she scolded herself. Such thoughts led only to death. She was here as an ambassador, nothing more. She broke Caleb's mesmerizing stare to address the gathering.
"Then let us broker this truce now,"
Valencia declared. A blood-chilling howl split the air, followed by screams. Valencia whirled to see rogues rushing from the forest, blood-crazed and wielding blades. Several vampires Valencia recognized from Crimson Coven flanked them. "It's an ambush," Victor roared. Chaos erupted as vampires and werewolves collided. Valencia drew her swords, cutting down the first frothing vampire that came at her. These were no allies, if they foolishly attacked a peace gathering. Werewolves leapt into savage battle in wolf and humanoid form alike. Caleb fought at Valencia's side, his lethal claws slashing vampires' throats in sprays of red. His alpha power left the attacking wolves cowering. Back to back, Valencia and Caleb fended off enemies. Her blades sang through the night, forged specially to inflict agony on vampires. Adrenaline and fury pounded through Valencia's veins. How dare they sabotage her mission? Soon, only the dead and dying remained. Caleb turned to Valencia, both their skins splattered with blood. His blue eyes scorched her with emotion too powerful to comprehend. In that moment, She knew Caleb was no ordinary werewolf. "We will meet again," he panted roughly. Before she could respond, he and the others melted into moonlight and shadows. Valencia hurried from the ruined castle, heart and mind at war. She had found an ally for peace in the werewolf called Caleb, but she feared their next meeting would unleash something far more dangerous than war. Over the next few moons, Caleb and Valencia met secretly in the forest, unable to deny their growing attraction. While their kinds warred, they sought solace in each other's arms. Valencia found herself confiding in Caleb about the toll the endless fighting had taken on her spirit. He softened her bitterness with his patience and whispered dreams of a life beyond the bloodshed. "Run away with me, Val," he'd plead. "We'll start over somewhere far from here." And she was tempted, sorely so. Yet duty kept calling her back.
If we leave, the killing will only continue.
She'd argue.
We must end it for good.
Caleb would concede she was right, for now. But his longing for her was evident in his lingering touches and fierce kisses. Valencia let herself get lost in his embrace, until the call of her clan summoned her once more. One full moon night, Valencia slipped away to meet Caleb with an urgent message.
My scouts report a large vampire force moving towards your territory.
She whispered as they clung to one another.
You must rally your warriors.
Caleb tensed. Then this is farewell for now, my love. Stay safe until we meet again. He caressed her cheek, regret heavy in his eyes. They shared one searing kiss before he disappeared into the woods. Valencia's heart ached like it did every time Caleb left her. She shook off the clingy weakness and headed home. She arrived back at the manor to find the coven in chaos. Some of their youngest had been patrolling the forest and never returned. "The wolves ambushed them!" Soren raged, guttural fury creasing his pale face. The coven whipped into a frenzy, out for werewolf blood. They marshaled for immediate counterattack before Valencia could react.
Wait!
She shouted, but her voice went unheard in the din. The vengeful vampires flooded from the manor in a blur, too fast to stop. Valencia had no choice but to give chase. She tracked them deep into werewolf territory, the forest silent and still beneath the blood moon. Up ahead, Valencia heard snarls of battle. She burst into a grim scene. The broken bodies of her vampire patrol lay ravaged across the forest floor. Caleb's pack, transformed into monstrous wolf creatures, feasted on the remains. Valencia spotted Caleb among them, blood dripping from his snarling maw. Her cry of horror alerted the pack. Caleb whirled, eyes widening at the sight of her. The bloodthirsty haze receded from his lupine features. "Val, what have you done?" he rasped. With an enraged shriek, Valencia's vampires fell upon the werewolves. Caleb roared for his pack to retreat, but they clung viciously to their prize. The two sides clashed in a frenzy. Valencia could only watch in disgusted shock. When finally the wolves disengaged and melted into the woods, 5 more vampire youth lay dead. Caleb turned once more to Valencia, anguish in his face. "This wasn't our doing," he implored. "You have to believe me." All she could see was the blood drenching his skin. The truth hit her like a stake through the heart.
You betrayed me!
She screamed.
You used my feelings to orchestrate this massacre. I was a fool to think we could ever be more.
Caleb reached for her, but she recoiled, sorrow turning to blistering rage.
I will see you dead for this, Caleb Blackmoon. Pray we do not meet again.
Valencia turned her back on him. She ignored his desperate pleas as he vanished into the shadows. Hot tears streamed down her face, fury and anguish twisting inside. She had spilled her deepest secrets, even her heart, to this wolf who had played her for a fool. Never again, she vowed. Her naive dreams of peace turned to ash along with her love for the werewolf called Caleb. She would not rest until his blood coated her blades. Only absolute vengeance could heal her shattered soul now. In the moons following the massacre, Valencia threw herself into hunting down Caleb's pack. She led her vampire warriors on raid after bloody raid, determined to make the wolves pay tenfold. But the Alpha himself remained elusive, much to her fury. Valencia stood over the latest rogue they had dragged back to the manor, flicking blood from her sword.
Let's make this simple,
She purred.
Tell me where to find Caleb Blackmoon, and I'll grant you a swift death.
The battered werewolf spat defiance. Valencia nodded to Soren. He grinned wickedly, flexing his claws dripping venom. The werewolf's screams echoed through the stone halls as Soren went to work. Valencia waited, impassive. But inside, Caleb's face still haunted her. She hated herself for missing the wolf who had deceived her so thoroughly. Once she killed him, she told herself, these feelings would fade. Ready to talk? Soren asked the werewolf tauntingly. Gasping, he revealed Caleb's pack had taken refuge deep in the Elderwood, a forest on the edge of their territory. Good boy. Soren's claws sliced, ending the rogue's life. Valencia swept from the hall, finally having her praised location.
I go alone,
She told Soren when he moved to join her. But the Elderwood crawls with wolves, he protested. Valencia fixed the vampire with a look that stifled further argument.
This hunt is mine.
Alone, Valencia journeyed through mist-veiled woods until she reached Elderwood. The ancient trees and stillness unnerved even her. She would find Caleb here tonight. Her senses on high alert, she stole silently towards the werewolf encampment. Valencia glimpsed a towering oak carved with sigils she recognized from Caleb's body. Yes, she had found their lair at last. With lethal grace, she crept among the sleeping wolves. Her blades sang as she executed one after another before they could sound alarm. But Caleb was not among them. A ferocious roar split the air as the alpha werewolf lunged from the shadows. He slammed into Valencia, sending them both tumbling along the forest floor. They broke apart, circling each other warily. Why have you done this? Caleb demanded.
Your pack killed my own, and you will pay for that.
She struck, blades whirling. Caleb dodged and swiped viciously in return. His claws caught her arm, drawing blood. They exchanged blows beneath the branches, Valencia fueled by fury, Caleb by desperation. He tried again and again to make her understand the truth, but she shut out his voice. In a reckless moment, Valencia left herself open. Caleb's claws raked her side, tearing deep. She faltered. Sensing victory, he lunged for the finishing blow. Valencia twisted aside, then buried both blades into his chest with inhuman force. Caleb's eyes blew wide, filling with torment. Not physical, but the agony of her ultimate betrayal. As he collapsed, realization crashed down on Valencia. What had she done? She cradled Caleb's shaking body. His wolf eyes, once so bright, now dimmed as blood gushed hot over her hands. My love, he gasped. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She wept.
Caleb, I'm so sorry.
He shakily touched her face one last time before the light left his eyes. Her cry of anguish split the misty veil of Elderwood. Caleb, her wolf prince, lay slain at her hand. Valencia had never felt such wretched, consuming grief. For moons she had been blind, consumed by rage and vengeance. Now Caleb paid the price with his life. She rocked his broken body, begging forgiveness though she knew she deserved none. Valencia had no choice but to accept the horrific truth. The only way now to end the bloodshed between their people was through her own death. She would sacrifice herself so no others would suffer Caleb's fate. The blades that took Caleb's life would now take hers as well. Valencia returned to the manor, numb with grief over Caleb's death. She confessed the truth to Soren. It had been a tragic mistake between their clans, and she had slain an innocent wolf in her rage. Though furious, Soren knew enough blood had been spilled. At Valencia's urging, a fragile peace was brokered with Victor and Caleb's remaining wolves. But it was clear both sides still simmered with distrust and bitterness. True harmony seemed out of reach. Valencia knew there was only one way to unite their people and cement the peace permanently. She must make the ultimate sacrifice. Under moonlight, she went alone into Elderwood shrouded in black robes. In the same misty clearing she had felled Caleb, Valencia thrust a silver dagger into her heart. As her body disintegrated to ash, her spirit appeared, pale and beautiful as ever. Caleb's ghost manifested from the shadows, drawn by her presence. Valencia went to him, unafraid.
My love, I wronged you,
she said sorrowfully. And I you, Caleb replied. We both made grave mistakes. Valencia took his hands.
Our clans will never know real peace while we both still live. Please, Caleb, this is the only way.
Caleb gazed at her with sad longing, then pulled her close. If our sacrifice can spare others our torment, then I will gladly make it. My only regret is causing you pain, my dear Valencia. They kissed one last time, a bittersweet goodbye between two star-crossed souls. Then, hands clasped, they stepped into the moonlight. Ancient magic swept through the clearing, swirling around the lovers' spirits. Valencia and Caleb shone like beacons for a heartbeat, then dissipated together in a glittering mist. In the afterlife, they found the peace denied them on earth, and their selfless sacrifice united their clans at long last. When word spread of Valencia and Caleb's deaths, shock and grief rippled through vampires and werewolves alike. Though details were scarce, all knew they had given their lives for the chance at lasting peace. Leaders from both sides met under the full moon where the sacrifice took place. Victor recounted what he knew of the lovers' tragic story. In their memory, the clans swore an unbreakable oath of harmony from that day on. Statues of Valencia and Caleb were erected in the misty clearing, their likenesses forever gazing at one another. On the solstices, clans gathered to leave offerings and celebrate the union born of sacrifice. Families, once sworn enemies, now met in friendship under the shadow of their monuments. Songs and ballads were sung of the vampire warrior maiden and her werewolf love. Their forbidden passion, mistake, and redemption became ingrained as seminal legend. Mothers and fathers told their children of Valencia and Caleb when teaching them to uphold peace. Though they lived tragic lives, in death Valencia and Caleb achieved something extraordinary, bringing light where once there was only darkness. Proof that love conquers all. Centuries passed, but the monument statues remained, binding two worlds together. Occasionally, visitors noticed the stone figures were no longer grief-stricken, but seemed to gaze upon one another in shared hope, as though somewhere their spirits had finally found joyful peace. On the anniversary of their sacrifice each year, it was said if you listened closely to the wind, you could hear two lovers whispering words of forgiveness, acceptance, and eternal devotion.
Thank you very much for listening. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this story. Subscribe if you loved it.